Hi, Bill. Good evening to you. How are you?
I'm just fine. It's nice to be with you, Nicolette.
Thank you so much for saying yes to be interviewed today. I'd like to introduce myself formally. My name is Nicolette. I am the creator for the podcast titled Your Worthless. Read that again. The juxtaposition of your very soul. Now, I'd like to thank you very much for saying yes for the interview today. And I'm excited to have you on simply because of your experiences in, I think, corporate America and then media and then what you do to give back to the community. So without further ado, I'd like to read a bit of an introduction for our listeners today, and then we can get right into the nitty-gritty of things.
Sounds good.
So hello, everyone. We have Bill Barnett here with us. Bill's distinguished career encompasses the entertainment and communication sectors, with significant achievements in television, film, radio, and digital technologies. With a track record as CEO and president of over a dozen companies, Bill possesses deep insights into the psychology of business networking, the art of strategic relationship building, and the nuances of effective communication. His expertise extends to identifying and capitalizing on investment opportunities and fostering entrepreneurial ventures. Now, through his current endeavor, Smarter Minds Network, Bill leverages his extensive experience to support job seekers and entrepreneurs from all walks of life, whether guiding individuals on career advancement, assisting recent college graduates as they embark on professional journeys, helping parents re-enter the workforce, or advising veterans and their spouses on career transitions, offers tailored advice and strategies. He is also a trusted consultant on business plans, hiring practices, and investment strategies, both personal and business related. Wow, so much to unpack, Bill. So I'm going to be learning a lot from you today.
Good. I hope I can come through for you.
Of course. Okay, Bill. Before we go into the serious side of things, can you share with us first, what was it like growing up as a Bill Barnett?
Well, I actually had a great upbringing. I had two very loving parents that were very involved in our lives. I have two sisters, two younger sisters. We're all within 3 years of each other. We're very close in age.
Mm-hmm.
My father grew up in the Depression, and so he had set values. I mean, he worked hard from day one. He was in the war, and the value of hard work and the value of a dollar, and he instilled those in me, and I kind of carried it out through my entire life. And my mom was also, we were all very close family, and they gave us, me and my sisters, every benefit that you can imagine. We lived in a nice area, we went to good schools, and they gave us a really, really terrific, warm, loving household to grow up in.
I love that. Okay. I before I interview all of my guests, I do a little bit of research about them so that let's see if I can connect. And I could feel like, because I was looking at your Instagram and then I saw like pictures of you and your family and your daughter. It's like, oh, it reminded me of my dad, like how he's because we're all girls. I don't know if you have
all girls.
sons.
I have twin girls.
Even and there's three of us, so I'm the eldest, and I can see how protective and loving of a father figure you are to your kids, and I can sense that and then the way you were talking about your daughter in New York City, and then now she's back in LA, and I'm sure you're ecstatic about it. And the first circle for me as well. FYI, I used to live in Kuala Lumpur, the capital of Malaysia, and 15 years. So now I'm back at my parents' place. So it's like my dad is, and okay, yeah, I don't know why I'm telling you this, but I went to the States in September actually to make a big to decide whether if I wanna live abroad, and I've always lived abroad since when I left home since 17. Right now, when I came back, I made up my mind and said, okay, I told my dad, you know that I've always been the one that likes exploring, and I'm going to come back. I'm going to close my chapter in KL. I'm going to come back and stay with you for about a year or so. And then I'm going to go and explore. So, New York. And she's like, okay. But the only thing he told me is like, okay, get your finances ready. And then, you can go. So yeah, it's I think I don't know why, but I feel like I can resonate that with you. But yes, Bill. Okay, what is your backstory? Like, what did you do before, and how did you come about to what you're doing now?
Yeah. So my career, believe it or not, it really started when I was in college. I
Mm.
was a yell leader in college. I was very involved with sports at SC. I went to USC, and I was on a train ride from Chicago to South Bend, Indiana, for a USC Notre Dame football game. And I was
Mm-hmm.
speaking to a very nice woman sitting right across from me on the train. And she said, "Do you mind if I call my husband over? I'd love for you to meet him." And he happened to be the president of of Walter Thompson, with J. Walter Thompson, which is was the largest advertising agency in the world.
Well,
And we talked for about a half an hour on the train. And he says, "What are you majoring in?" And I said, "In business." He says, "Well, I have to tell you something." He says, "I mean this in the nicest possible way. You have the gift of gab. You are a great speaker. You're
really?
poised for somebody your age." And he says, "I really think you should get into marketing or advertising, something like that." Long story short, I switched my major. I went from business to PR marketing, and I started my career in advertising. And one thing led to another. I was recruited after 9 months at an agency, Foot Cone Building in Los Angeles, to work at a radio rep firm, which we sold radio time all over the country. And I was there for about 3 years, and I decided to start my entrepreneurial journey. And I started my own radio production company. And that was the launch of my career and my entrepreneurial spirit.
So you okay? Wait. So 3 years with working with somebody, and then 3 years after starting your own business. I mean, wow. Okay, I want to know. Okay, how did you do that? But I'm so many questions in my head right now. I want to ask you first. Why do you think B students are more successful than A students in the long run?
Yeah, I have a theory about this. And
Okay.
I believe B students and even C students, because they're not the very top of their class, are more collaborative. They work better with other people. I have a lot of friends that are A students, and a lot of them are extremely smart, and some of them have been very successful. But I have found that B students just know how to work with other people better than A students. They know that they don't have all the answers themselves. They know that two brains, three brains, four brains are better than one. And so
Mm,
I, in my career, and I've talked to a lot of friends about this, and some of my best friends that are most successful were B and C students. So it's kind of a funny term that I use when I'm speaking a lot to students. And I say,
yeah.
do not worry if you're not an A student. The B students and the C students, you're going to be very successful because you know how to collaborate. You know how to connect with other people, and you know how to take advice and learn from other people. So that's just my theory on A students versus B students.
Can I think I can back you up on that because okay, so it's been instilled by my dad too that education is key. That's the key to changing your lives. I was pushing myself like over. Okay, I don't want to say overachieving. That's because that's bad. But I was achieving like getting the straight A's and whatnot. But I read a quote I think and I stumbled upon Tony Robbins, Robin Sharma, and all those speakers. There was a quote, I don't know from who, but it said, often the B and the C students are the ones hiring, opening up businesses and hiring the A students to work for them. So, yeah, and now my younger sister is 13 and she's not, she's inclined towards certain subjects in her school. And my dad has always been the one like, oh, your older sisters are always, yeah, like this. But I told him, like, okay, he, maybe we should change the way because we probably got one chance with her right now. We should change the way we ask her or motivate her towards a different direction or not just use a different approach with her. And yeah, and I'm also learning as I go, and I'm sure that was my this is my this is the first time my dad's a dad too. I'm sure in this lifetime at least. So he only knew what he knew then. But after me talking to a lot of people and also seeing it live out in my life or friends of my cohort, I say, okay, maybe there's something different there. So I support that theory of yours.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, I like to look at the glass as half full. And my
Yeah.
daughters, they were both very good students, but not spectacular students. One was a low A student, the other one was a B student. And when they were upset about certain classes they weren't good in, I said,
Mm,
look at that as a positive. If you're not great in math, it means you're not going to be an accountant. We're going to find out what you are going to be good in. And when
yes,
they
sure.
gravitated to things that they were
Yeah.
really good in, they excelled. So I am always look at the positive side of things. If you're not great at something, it's okay. It means it's not meant for you to be in that field. We'll find the field that you are good in. And that's how we raised our kids.
Yeah, and I can see or I can feel that you're such a supportive dad, and then say it's okay if you fail in this one subject, it's fine. We'll find what you're good at, and then make sure. Okay, now I think the next question flows. Whatever you mentioned just now flows to this next question. Now, is it better to follow your passions or your strength? Hi, I'm Nick Nieras, your host of the Your Wordless podcast. Now, if these real raw stories hit home, don't wait. Please follow, like, and subscribe my Spotify and YouTube. For bite-sized inspirational reels, follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn. Don't wait. Your transformation starts today. Thank you, and bye for now.
Yeah. So I love this question. I get it all the time. And I am a big believer in following your strengths, not your passions. For several,
No. Okay.
I am not saying not to, as I say, be a weekend passionate person. When I was younger, I loved playing tennis. I still do, actually. But as I got older, I found out that not only did I become less interested in tennis, I found out how much better other people were than me as I started to get to college and I played some low tournaments. And when I graduated college, I found out how much better other people were than me. And I still play tennis to this day. It's still a passion of mine. But my strengths are what have driven my financial independence. When
Mm,
you are strong in something and you become good at something, people start to have this respect for you and they want to work with you because you instill confidence in them because you have confidence in yourself.
mm,
And I think following your strengths is a much longer term successful model than following your passions. I had a lot of friends that wanted to be writers or wanted to be in music. And I have to tell you, most of them did not make it to the level they wanted to. And they wished, looking back on it in retrospect, they had followed different paths. The other thing is, if you follow your strengths, it generally leads to better hiring positions for you. And it leads you further in life. And I have found that that is a much more sustainable existence than following something you're passionate about. One of the things you have to have as you get older, and especially if you have kids or you're raising a family, you want to send them to school, you have a house to uphold, is that a sustainable wealth model is the most important thing that you can have. Obviously, you need to have health, and I love my family very much. But if I didn't have financial security, I wouldn't be able to give my kids the things that I thought that they needed or some of the things they wanted. I wouldn't be able to give my wife the life that she wants without sustainable financial existence. And that's why following your strengths is a much more scalable and sustainable model. And the other thing that I like to refer to is something called energy momentum. And that's where if you follow your strengths, your career will have a momentum to it. You'll always be moving forward. You'll always be moving up. And that, I feel, following your strengths is far more important than following your passions.
Okay, so yeah, this is me being curious. So, your kids, do you encourage them to follow their strengths too,
I
or
absolutely do.
how do I say this? Their passion and their strengths, are they aligned, or are they like
Yeah, my kids' passions, one of my daughters, who was the one that lived in New York for 7 years, as I was telling you before, she had a passion for fashion merchandise, and there was a good career for that. So I said, absolutely, that's a sustainable career. So
Mhm.
she did that, and she went to work for a Japanese retailer, and you called Uniqlo.
Mm,
She got recruited to work for Walmart, and she ran the fashion division, online fashion division for Walmart. And now, because of all of her internet experience, she's running a very big division for Petco because of her online experience. So one thing led to another, which led to another. But the other thing that I think is very important for people to understand about their passions are that, and I talk about this all the time, passions are fleeting. They change all the time. I've had many different passions throughout my life, but my
mhm,
strengths have always been consistent. And I
mm,
knew that I could always rely on my consistency and my strengths. I remember my dad was an architect, so he was born with a natural artistic bent to him. And I've always enjoyed art. I always loved it. And about 10 years ago, I said, you know what? I want to learn how to paint. I have a lot of passion. I really want, I got to tell you, that lasted for about 6 months. And I've got several $100s worth of painting and materials in my garage. So passions are fleeting. I'm not saying not to, try them and do them and if you have fun with them, but I'm just saying that your strengths are something you can rely on and something that is something you could do throughout your life because you know you're good at it.
okay, well, I need to do a bit of thinking afterwards then, after this
Okay.
interview. Well, thank you for that. Okay, Bill, what qualities do you find in the most successful people?
All right. So I have kind of a list of things that I look for when I'm investing in somebody or when I'm hiring them. And the first most important one is self-discipline. Does the person have discipline? Are they focused? Are they earnest? Do they have a target that they know that they want to accomplish? The people that I have hired that have been the most successful are people that are focused and disciplined. They take care of themselves. They're generally very healthy and they care about what it is we are doing. The second thing that I think is very important is curiosity. I love people that are curious, that always want to learn, that always want to make themselves better. The third is resilience. I like to know we're all going to fall down. We're all going to get knocked down. The key is, can you get back up again? And we're all going to fall down more than once. I've had a fairly successful career, but I can't tell you how many times I've been knocked down, how many times a deal didn't go the way I wanted to go, or a job didn't go the way I wanted. But the key is I kept getting back up and I kept fighting the battle. And that's what I want from the people that I'm talking to, hiring, or investing in. Another really important one is adaptability. Are you willing to go with the flow? Are you willing to make a pivot when you have to? I've started half a dozen companies and none of them ended up the way we thought when we started them. There was always a change. Some were more dramatic than others, but there was always a change. When I brought my team together, the key 4 or 5 people, that was one of the most important things I talked to them all about. The guys, we have a way that we think this is going to work. But I'm telling you right now, it's not going to end up exactly what we're thinking right now. I need to know that you all have the ability to pivot, that you all have the ability to be flexible and to adjust to circumstances. The other important things to me are your ability to network, your ability to be able to be personable, to meet new people. I always tell when I'm talking in colleges and universities, the most important thing that you can be is likable. It's important that other people want to work with you. You'll get much more out of people if people like you. I've been involved in some fairly lucrative investments. And the reason I got involved with those is because I was friends with the people before they started their business. And they came to me after and said, Bill, I've got this deal. I really think you should invest in it, or I'd like you to invest in it. And because I knew them and because I trusted them and because we had a bond already, those were some of the things that led me to some of my bigger successes. The other two things that I want to talk about, and I'll end this because I know you've got other questions, are self-awareness. I
Mm,
think it's extremely important that you not only understand, but embrace your liabilities. We all have liabilities. And one of the greatest things for me in my life as I hit my mid to late 30s is understanding I was not always the best at everything I did. In fact, as I got older, I found out I was rarely the best at anything I did. So that
Excuse
was
me.
enlightening for me, but it made me a more successful and a more relaxed person. And I realized there's nothing wrong with going to somebody else and asking a question, asking for help, asking for an opinion. And I like to say that I've got my board of directors, my personal board of directors. And those are all my closest friends that I know, that I trust, that have experience, that I can rely on. And the last point I want to make, the last one, is integrity. I want to make sure that everybody I deal with is honest, is straight up, will tell you the truth, and they always deal with integrity.
Wow. Those are those, I should be writing all of those things that you mentioned on my board. I look at them every day. Bill, I'm interested. Can you, since you mentioned you've had so many deals that, did not go through or did not go the way you wanted them to, can you share one particular deal that, that you still remember to this day, and what did it teach
Yeah.
you?
So I had a company several years ago based on when my kids were going to college, and we designed a platform for kids all over the world to be able to submit video interviews for college. They couldn't afford to fly to the college of their choice. They couldn't afford to interview, but all these other kids that had a lot of money could fly anywhere and interview at all these different colleges.
Mm.
After that, we found out that colleges didn't have the manpower to interview all the kids that they felt should be interviewed. So we came up with this platform it was called Like Live, for kids to interview, and it would be submitted with all their files to the colleges, their grades, their scores, their essays, all of that. And we were at a very difficult point. I was financing the company by myself, and we thought we had a deal for an investor to come in and it would support our company. And it came at a somewhat desperate time for us. We were down to our last few dollars, and it was very important. Well, that deal fell through. And
Mm.
lo and behold, I would say a week later, another company, a very large company from the East, from Princeton, New Jersey, came in and said, Bill, we really like what you're doing. We'd love to invest in your company. And not only did that investment, after 2 weeks of negotiation, they said first they wanted to buy 10 or 20% of our company. Then they came back and said, we want to buy 40% of your company. Then they came back and said, we want to buy 51% of your company. And I said no to that. I said, I'm not selling more than 50%. A week later, they came back and they said, here's a number. We'd like to buy 100% of your company. And they bought the entire company.
Wow.
Talking about resiliency and
The
talking
no
about,
number must have been very favorable for you to actually let go 50%,
yeah,
100% of that.
right.
Wow. 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 So, okay. Amazing. Okay, between that period of, the back and forth, them coming back to you, 20%, 40%, 51%, and then 100%, like what were you doing differently at the time? Like if you were to think about it right now,
Yeah.
retrospectively.
That was an internal conversation they were having. We were not privy to those conversations.
Right.
So I
But as a
think what happened
person,
was,
like what did you do?
well, we knew, I was pretty sure, although I shouldn't tell you this because I didn't want to feel overconfident because we had just
Okay.
lost a deal that I thought was pretty sure. So I never wanted
Right.
to get overconfident. And I had 3 other partners, and we all
Mm-hmm.
talked obviously every single day about this, different scenarios. And the only time that we all agreed that we didn't want to do it is when they said they wanted to buy 51% of the company. That was
Okay.
the only number I was not going to take. I would have gone anywhere from 49% down or 80% up, but I was
Uh-huh.
not going to sell just over because we would have almost half of our company and they would be the final decision maker.
That's right.
So I did not want that to happen. So we all hung tight. We all negotiated. I handled the negotiation, but we all decided everything as a team. That was a team process. And till the day we sold it, it was a team. And that's always how I run all my companies.
Wow. So you had a laser focused vision that, okay, 49 or below or 80
Or above and
above.
above. Right.
Right. Okay. Whew. Okay. Thank you for that, Bill, for sharing. What does sustainable success mean to you, and how can individuals or businesses achieve it in today's fast-paced environment?
Yeah. So that's the main topic of most of my talks is
Okay.
sustainable success. And the first thing that I say, which is also the title of my book, Smarter Minds, is to leverage smarter minds. And once that became part of my personal mantra, my life loosened up. And I started to realize that if I can rely on smarter minds, on people better than me, more experienced than me, that had been through some of the wars I hadn't been through, that could give me practical advice, it would free me up to think more clearly. And so my first thing is leveraging smarter minds, or as I say, building my personal board of directors. The second, again, we talked about this earlier, is my continuous need to grow, to learn, to be curious. That is what has really sustained all of my new ideas. Going from one business to the next business is because I was curious about things. Going back to Like Live, I started that business because I told my kids that I thought that if they interviewed at colleges, they would have a better chance of getting into the schools they wanted to go to. What I found out was most of these schools didn't even offer interviews. And more importantly, one of my daughters who ended up going to Indiana, Michigan was another choice of hers. We got a call from Michigan the day before they had an interview for her. And I said, wait a minute. It was about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And I said, you want me to be there at 10 o'clock the next morning? I live in Los Angeles. How can I do that? So it was obviously, and she ended up going to Indiana, had a great college experience there. So it worked out fine. But I'm thinking about all these other kids. So anyway, that was a business that I did from being curious about how do other colleges do it? How do other kids cope with this? That's how that business started. The next thing is building financial security. And the way to build financial security is to have a good base of income. And to have a good base of income, you need to have a leverageable asset. And your leverageable asset goes back to something you asked before, is your strength. Exactly right. So it's creating a personal board of directors. It's building financial security based on a leverageable asset that you have become an expert, or at least as good as you can become at it. Having continuous curiosity and growing and leveraging smarter minds.
Wow. Okay. Wow, Bill, you have given me a lot to think about after this. Okay, well, thank you. This is what I love. What I do because every guest brings their own wealth of experiences and it's like a mini coaching or therapy session for me. I love it. Thank you so much, Bill. Okay. I have 2 questions because you wrote this in one of your proposed title for an episode. Rented money versus own money. Can
Yes.
you can you share with us?
Yes, it's
What is
extremely
that?
important. It's extremely important that people understand this concept.
Yeah.
So
Becoming a podcast host was a natural extension of my second act. Now, after spending 15 years in the corporate world, I've transitioned to helping individuals overcome challenges like navigating tough relationships, career burnout, and aligning their mission with their soul's calling. By certifying as an RTT hypnotherapist and a lifestyle coach, I've made it my mission to empower people to recreate the life they deserve and building a supportive community through my podcast. Now, let me ask, are you facing challenges like struggling to reprogram your mind to attract wealth, weight issues that feel like a constant yo-yo, insomnia or restless nights from daily worries, or just a lack of confidence in public speaking? If the answer is yes, visit www.thenicknearholisticlifestyle.com and grab a free hypnosis audio of these common struggles. It's a sneak peek into how my coaching works. Are you feeling shy? Don't be, because I'm as real as it gets. Let's connect on Instagram and LinkedIn and start your transformation today.
rented money is your day-to-day money. When you have a job and you're making a salary, you're using that money for your rent. You're using that money for your car. You're using that money for your food. This is all money that goes in and out. That's the money that you're living on. I call it rented money. The most important thing that you can do is pile up your owned money. This is money that nobody can take away from you. This is money that you have saved or invested. So let's use an example. Let's say you have a job and you're making $5,000 a month. That is the money that you are using based on the fact that you have this job. What happens if you get fired? What happens if this business goes out of business or if this business gets sold? You no longer have that money. That rented money is gone. But your owned money, the money that you've saved over a period of years, over the period of your career, that is the only money that you can rely on. That is the money that I always tell people that by the time you're 55 years old, you want your money to be working for you. You do not want to be working for money. And so the more you save, the more you invest from your rented money and put into your owned money category, the more you will be secure as you get old.
Okay, so the key to that is save and invest a portion of your rented money
Exactly right.
and start as early as you can.
Start as early as you can, because that money compounds. And the more you
Compounding is
have,
our best friend.
exactly, the more you have in your investment account. And by the way, there's three different tranches for money. The first is the money that you have to have because you live on it. The second is your emergency cash fund. And I don't recommend keeping more than 6 months in there. A lot of people say 12 months. I am fine with between 3 and 6 months in there, because that's not money that's earning a high interest, but it's there for an emergency and it's important. The most important bucket is your investment account, your portfolio. That's money that will be there for you when you retire. So, there's a term called FIRE. I'm sure you've heard of it. Financial independence, retire early.
Right.
I don't believe in FIRE. I believe in FIPA. Financial independence, pivot anytime. I have no plans on ever retiring. What am I going to do? Sit around my couch, watch TV, and eat bonbons? I don't want to ever retire. I want to pivot to something else. I may want to pivot to golf. I may want to pivot to travel. I may want to pivot to being with my daughters more often, but I'm always moving. I'm always going. So I'm never going to retire. I'm just going to pivot. And you want to make sure you have that pivot account put away that you can live on when you decide to really get out of the business that you're in.
Wow. FIPA. Wait. So it's, what was it? Financial independence.
FIPA. Financial
FIPA.
independence, pivot anytime.
Pivot anytime. Okay. Okay, Bill. So why is spending is the key to retirement? This is
I always say,
the most.
if you want to retire wealthy, spend, spend, spend. And
Bill, that's a paradox.
it is. And I'll tell you how to do it. It's very
Okay.
simple.
I'm all
Just
ears.
make sure whatever you're spending or investing in is worth more tomorrow than it is today. If you go out and buy a car, is that worth more tomorrow than it was today? Nope. You lose 20% of the value of that car as you drive it off the driveway. If you're buying a pair of pants or you're going out for a meal, is that going to be worth tomorrow more than it is today? Absolutely not. When my kids were younger and they started, when they were 10 or 12 years old, when they started working, they were called mother's helpers. And we had a deal. And I said, and the early deal was, you save all your money and I'll pay for all your fun stuff, your movies, your clothes. I'll take care of that, but save it. As they got a little older, we changed the equation because they wanted to spend their own money. And I said, what do you like? They said, we like going to the movies. We like buying clothes. I said, terrific. Who are some of the companies you like? Well, we like Disney. We like Paramount. We like these clothes. I said, great. I want you to buy stocks in those companies. I want you to take that money that you were going to spend on a movie and invest it in Disney stock. The pants you were going to buy, whatever it was, I want you to take that money and invest it in the stock in that. Now we do all index funds. But this was 25 years ago before index funds got to be a big thing. Take your money and spend it. Spend it on investments. Don't spend it on things that are here today and gone tomorrow.
Wow. You could have an episode on just how to grow, make money and maintain and grow your wealth. Bill, thank you for that. What is next for you?
Well, I am starting to do a lot of speaking at colleges and universities. And I have 4 or 5 different groups that I speak to on a semi-regular basis. I talk to parents that are coming back after being out of the workforce, mostly mothers, but some fathers that have been out of the workforce for a while, and they want to find out how to get back into the workforce. How do they do it? What do they do? The other are older people in transition that are not in transition on purpose. They're in transition because they either aged out of their company, they're in their early 50s, late 50s, or 60s, or companies have gotten sold, or they were bought out, and they just find themselves in a position that they still need their income, but they've been let go from their job. I also work with veterans. I've worked with veterans for a long time, mostly veteran entrepreneurs that are starting their own businesses. But the one group that I really enjoy working with the most are college graduates, um, young people that are just getting into their careers. And the reason I like helping them so much is because if they follow my entire process, I feel confident that I can put them in a very good financial position by the time they're ready to retire. Because those people have something that I don't have, or at least I don't have as much of, and that's time. Time is your most valuable asset. And if they learn how to make money, how to maximize their income, and learn how to save and invest at a relatively early age, they will be in great shape by the time they say, you know what, I'm done. I want to go enjoy my life. They'll have money put away to do that.
Wow. Thank you. And I love when you said you're helping young college graduates or those that are just starting out. It's because they're the next leaders, right? So
Right.
if you don't start them young, because sometimes money is often not, or if it's a taboo thing. I'm talking to so many people. Money is not taught in school. The way to manage, the way to grow, and there's a different. I don't know. There's an agenda because of that, and we're learning along the way. So people like yourself and those that are really basing their intention to really learn about it is the one that's going to be ahead of the curve, I would say.
Let me mention something about that. It's a piece in my book, and it's also a big piece of my talk, that money is not a taboo subject.
Exactly.
Money should not be a taboo subject. I'm so glad you brought that up. It is, I mean, I got to tell you, my friends and I, when we're playing tennis or playing golf, half of our conversation is about money. It's about
Yeah.
we don't talk about how much we make or anything like that, but we talk about our investments. We talk about 1031 exchanges. We talk about different real estate. We talk about all kinds of things, and we're always learning from each other when we're out there. I love learning more about money and investments and about how to distribute my money. I love that. And I
Yeah.
think parents should do this with kids at an early age. And I don't think people should be afraid to talk about money with each other. It's very important.
Yes. Reach. Thank you, Bill. And that one, and I'm sure this episode will, I hope, could give at least, a bit of message out there. And then I'd like to have you on for my second season, talking
My
a bit
pleasure.
about money.
My pleasure. And people want to learn more about it. They can obviously go to my website, and I talk a lot about this. I talk about scalable jobs or their life throughout their life, the jobs they take, the money they save, and how to have a sustainable life. And all they have to do is go to my website. It's all on there, smartermindsnetwork.com.
Brilliant. Okay. I'm gonna leave a segment for you right before we end. Then you can mention all of your website, social media platform. But first, Bill, we're gonna pivot to a self-worth question. Now, this self-worth, this question is: can exploring existential questions and embracing spirituality help in overcoming feelings of self-doubt and inadequacy?
Yeah.
Also,
I think I'm not a religious person, but I think spiritual is probably a better word. And I have, as we discussed earlier, I have a very close bond with my kids and my wife. And I think that knowing that you have the support and knowing that you have the love of somebody is probably the greatest gift I could give them. It's the greatest gift of all, the gift of connection, the gift of love. And that is how I was raised. And I knew that when I had kids, I wanted to raise my kids the same way I was raised. And that's the feeling of love and connection. So I don't know if that fits into the spirituality category, but that's my spirituality is the love and connection that I feel with my family.
there's no right or wrong answer to this, and I love that because what's the term or what's the phrase? Love is the strongest force in the world.
I believe
Yeah. What is your heart's greatest wish?
my heart's greatest wish. We just had a very tough election here.
Mm,
It was a
yeah.
very, very tough time. And I think unfortunately, we're going to be for a tough go for the next several years. But my greatest is that people can understand that there is a commonality between all of us. And I'm not just talking about people in the United States. I'm talking about all over the world. And if we do not learn how to work together as a world, as a people of the world, we're going to go down the wrong way. And we want to make sure that we're doing things in a good way. I have great worries about climate change, for example. That's a passion of mine. And I think that if we don't all get on the same page about climate, our kids, not my generation, and maybe not my kids' generation, but their children, their generation is going to be severely impacted by that. So I think that we, as a universal people in this world, we have to learn how to get along, and we have to learn how to row the boat the same way. If we have one big canoe and everybody's rowing different directions, we're not going to get anywhere.
No, we're not going to
We all
move.
need to
Yeah.
row in the same direction.
Yeah. Thank you, Will. Do you have a mantra that you live by?
My mantra is probably, I have a couple. One, it's not the problems you face, it's how you face your problems. I believe that people that know, we're all going to have problems, but people that know how to handle the problems, that know how to handle them with patience, with grace, with poise, are the people that get the furthest. I've been preaching this to my kids since they're very, very young. And then the other one is that of connection. We've talked about this, but it's my biggest single word in my life is your ability to connect with other people. Because if you don't have other people in your life, you're missing the biggest egg in your life. And for me, it's the connection with my friends, my family, my work associates. That's what drives me every day. So it's how you face your problems, and it's the connection you have with people.
I love it. Thank you, Will. It's a great reminder for me as well. Is there anything that keeps you up at night, or do you sleep well?
I generally sleep well. You know, they always say you're only as happy as your most unhappy.
Wow. Okay, Bill, last one. If you could create a quote right now for you to leave to the audience listening and the world as your legacy, what would it be? Wow. Simple but deep. Learn how to get along before it's too late. Okay. You're making me think some of the calls I need to make. Yeah. 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 Thank you. Thank you. Okay, Bill, now, how can people reach out to you? Awesome. And there you have it, everyone. You've heard an inspiring journey and incredible wisdom from Bill Barnett. Thank you for sharing the work you're doing to uplift others and make a lasting impact. Despite the challenges, Bill, you're paving the way for others, and your dedication is a true testament to resilience and purpose. For our listeners, this has been another thought-provoking episode of You're Worthless. Read that again. The juxtaposition of your very soul. Now, if you've ever felt worthless, know this. You're not alone. But here's the deeper truth. If you are truly worthless, why would your soul choose to be here in this exact moment in this lifetime? Your soul traveled from the infinite, not just to exist, but to matter. And for that reason alone, you are worthy. And with that, I'd like to thank Bill Barnett for joining us today, and to all of you for listening. Until next time, I'm Nick Nieras, your host. Keep shining, keep growing, and remember, you are worthy and you are enough. See you in the next episode. Thank you so much, Bill, for your time.